Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. This is Regular EV Dad. I'm John. How are you doing? This is going to be a two-parter, and I have a feeling in thinking about this, there's going to be a couple of spin-off videos come from this little series of planning long-distance route trips. Of planning long-distance trips with your EV. My focus, personally, is going to be on the Volkswagen ID4 because that's what I drive. But I've also done this for Teslas when I've taken a Tesla halfway across the country and back in 3 days, and numerous other events. And so I'm going to be using a couple of different tools. And the first thing I'm going to do is turn my phone off because apparently something's going on in the world that I need to know about. It's not that I'm a bad person. I'm not going to re-record this. It's that I have a small window for recording. We're going to use it. So what you see right now is the trip I'm doing is in June, in middle of June. I mentioned it in one of my other videos. My wife is going to the Westminster Dog Show to show our dog. Yes, that brand of weirdness. She's a 10, but that meant there had to be, something missing, and it's dogs, and showing them. Not that I don't love them. Anyway, I can't. She's taking a month off. I can't do that. I have a day job. I also don't want to fly, and I also need to be able to support her. So we're going to need a vehicle. And if you've seen the cost of vehicle rentals right now, it's kind of crazy. In fact, our current plan from where I'm going to meet up with her, and we'll come to that in part 2, we're renting a commercial van. We have an RV that she's driving up to Idaho, down to Colorado, then across to Michigan, Illinois. And then we're going to leave the RV with some friends, and we're actually taking a regular commercial van, a transit, for the dogs and all the gear to New York. This time because of COVID, it's taking place in a place called Tarrytown. Anyway, so this isn't a cannonball. I wish it were, but I'm 45. I'm overweight. And this is kind of my vacation as well. And the idea of nonstop driving is just not something I want to do or can do. And it looks like I'm going to be doing it alone because my wingman had major hip surgery and he can't sit down that long. In fact, he's worried about flying to New York, let alone driving there. So if you go to a better route planner, and I hope you do, and I hope you'll subscribe to it, and I'll put a link to them in the notes. This is where everything starts for me, but the research goes on about how to do these things, and so we're going to be using Google Maps and PlugShare as well. There are other tools, EV Route Planner, EV Route Trip Maker, I think it's called, which is actually a lot more accurate and it would be interesting, but I just don't find it as intuitive. So what I'm going to talk about is how my thinking going into creating this, how I find, where I want to end up, how I construct the plans to optimize charging times, cover as much distance as possible. And then we can refer to my earlier videos, or I'll make a new one about how I take this information and put it in the car for the day off. So if I wanted to do this as a straight run, then a better route planner tells me that we'd actually end up taking the southern route, which was news to me. This isn't what it's proposed in the past, but more chargers have come online. Now, I have some things set up in here. In my preferences, I prefer Electrify America. Obviously, as an ID4, I don't pay for charging for 4 years, which is nice. It's not the reason I bought it, but it's nice. But some other chargers have actually come online in the past couple of weeks, and that's changed the route. So we now have this EV Gateway have come online and put in some 200 kilowatt chargers, and they're now showing in the route and filling they're filling in some of the gaps. So this, these things are always changing. There's another one here outside Joplin. The orange sections are where we have to reduce our speed, and they vary over. Let me just bring up the. Where it's decided that we need to reduce our speed to make it, but it's easier to reduce speed than it is to take an extra charge, in the opinion of a better route planner. But it also doesn't take into account some of the things that we don't know today. Biggest one is weather. If it's wet, you're going to use more energy. If you've got a headwind, you're going to use a lot more energy. And so these are things you have to take into account. This is a mixture of science and art. So as this isn't actually the route I'm going to be taking, I know I'm going to be taking the northern route because I know I'm going to have to stop in Chicago, in the Chicago area, and B, I need to go through Nebraska and pick up some bits and pieces along the way to help my wife out. So this is not what we're going to be doing. This is what we're going to be doing. So I know the route I would normally take to Denver, because the issue we have with CCS charges currently, I don't think maybe you can see this, is that Wyoming doesn't exist. There is nothing from Salt Lake City. The furthest you is Colville, which it won't show up automatically here, but there's a charger here at Colville. That is the last place. And then there is nothing until you get to Cheyenne. And even then, it is just a 22 kilowatts charger in Cheyenne. We have friends in Cheyenne, and if I'm going to visit them on the way home, I'll actually have to cut off of 80, head down Julesburg, Fort Morgan, and then cross country to Loveland, and then go up. I'll have to take a big round. And I can do that only because our friends have an RV on their property and have a 30 amp charger, so I can charge it while I'm there. And then coming home again, I'll have to take what we call the Southern Road back home through Grand Junction. So let's in my mind, having done this before, I can drive further. When I took the Tesla long range last year to Cheyenne, I actually got all the way to a place called Rock Springs, which is Laramie, Rawlins is around here somewhere. Anyway, I was tired. I was a real cannonball. I had to cover 3,000 miles in 3 days to help a pregnant dog, believe it or not. One of those things. Not that I can't do that again, but the car needs to charge while I sleep. I need that. Gives me an hour back each day. So let's go into PlugShare. Let's look at our options here. Now remember, I can use a Tesla destination charger as well with my Tesla adapter. We're going to turn on all the networks on this occasion. We don't care if we have to pay, because the cost isn't that big of a deal. And we're going to look at proximity to lodgings. And I've got the power setting in here. This is how I eliminate 50 kilowatt CCS charger. We'll come to that in a minute. So, I know I can get to Salt Lake and in good order in the Salt Lake area. But we're not staying at a KOA. Provo City Center, there's a Marriott. The Marriott has got 2 chargers. little bit of arbitrage, will I not get one? I'm going to be pulling in late. Chances are I will make a phone call or 2 phone calls, one in the morning saying, please, and can you put a code on the charger? And reconfirm later on, not because I'm privileged and deserve it, but this is the reason I'm staying at your hotel is because you have chargers. However, from a little bit of recon I did previously, and whilst it's not as far as I would like to go, it will work. There is a hotel here in this is Wampley, which is a finance company that make their chargers freely available, and it happens to be next to a Spring Hill Suites. But the one that I really like the look of, and will just make my life a little bit easier, is this Holiday Inn that has 2 chargers. There's 4 chargers, 2 J1772 and 2 Tesla chargers. And the great thing about PlugShare is we can actually see these units and see what we're getting involved in. Well, it's interesting looking at these. Oh yeah, they are. So they've put one on each. They put one of each type on each pedestal. So that immediately means that you have a better chance of getting the charger I need. The other thing is, because I want to guarantee that I have 100% battery, given its proximity to Salt Lake City, I know that I will pull into. There is a Sam's Club, which I'll drive pretty close to, which has Electrify America. So I'm going to come in pretty empty into there. We'll literally take it to 30%, something like that, where the 38% I think is where the state of charge drops from 125. So as soon as it drops, we'll just do that, and then because that will only take me 10 minutes of charge, 10-15 minutes I think of charging, and then when I get to the hotel, I'm guaranteed to get 100%. And my job, my plan is to be in the car with coffee at 7 o'clock in the morning, and gone. So whatever time I get in, I leave at 7. That's gonna be my plan. So we know where we're going, and so we're gonna start at home, and we're gonna go to. I already. Views just in, I'd already planned this. Let's just go to my settings. So we're going to be leaving 100%. Now, normally we only charge the cars to 80 for the battery, but on road trips, that's where the exception comes in. So we will start with 100 to begin with. It's worth going in here on the chargers. We're only going to be using CCS. That's fine. Our network preferences, our preferences for Electrify America, we have that in here. Getting in at 10%, absolutely fine. The car's gonna charge while we sleep. Getting into a charger, I'm fine with 5%. Absolutely fine. Where there's, this will vary on the day. I'm going to look at wind direction and things like that, which this doesn't take into account currently. But I'm also, I will vary that based on hills and wind direction. And the maximum I want to charge to is 80%. That's the absolute maximum, and that would have to be for a really long leg with no plan Bs, no backup support. Given the car is new, I will overrule it and put a battery degradation at 0. And then we've got 5 minutes here. This is how long it takes to come off, plug in, faff around, and I think that's fairly accurate. So with that said, let's run the numbers and see what it gives us. You can see the tracks which I'll be laying down as sound for my other videos I've been producing. So it has decided that we're going to go to Rockland, which is good. That's pretty much as far as we can get that's pretty much as far as we can go. Currently, there is there is proposal for a new Electrify America here at Auburn. I don't know if that's going to come on stream between now and when I leave. I'll be keeping an eye on it. If it does, that's great, because that'll pretty much drain, it's saying, and I don't agree with this number, because it's pretty flat between here and Sacramento. But it's saying I would get there with 33%, having done 141 miles. The data I have from the driving I've been doing does not support that. It says I would get in with more than 40%. So we'll see. But that's as far as we can go currently. We'll see if that changes between now and then. 22-minute charge, that's fine. This particular Target has there's a Panera's. I will actually have grabbed a coffee on the way in from Dutch Brothers. It's my little treat to myself. Probably the only one I'll get on this trip. And we'll charge up there, and then we will bypass Truckee, which is fine. We don't need to, because from Truckee here at the top of the Sierras down to Reno is absolutely flat, just absolutely flat. It's then suggesting that when we get to Reno, and this is just outside Reno in Sparks, it's a Target, Big Target, Chipotle. I've been here before in the RV as well as in the Tesla. So there's a Target, there's any number of food places, bathrooms, whatever you need. And it's saying that we'll go to 45%. Now, this is where the wind comes into equation. It's pretty flat between Reno and Fernley and up to Lovelock and Winnemucca. In fact, the road 80 pretty much follows the Truckee River, so it's usually fairly flat. The hills are fairly gentle, but the wind can be an issue, and even a crosswind will slow you down when it's being funneled through the valleys as it is. So that's going to factor into our thinking. There is currently a charger being built in Lovelock at a Safeway, and that will have that doesn't exist currently. It's still under construction, and we can see there's still no evidence of charges on April 4th. So I don't imagine that there's going to be anything there in place by the time we go through. But great that they're building it. But we have to get to Winnemucca. There's no if, buts, or maybe. There's nothing from Fernley to Winnemucca. There's nothing. And when I mean nothing, I mean culturally very little. So we'll charge up there, having had a break. And whilst I don't want to, do 44-minute deep charges like that, it is what it is. It's saying we're going to need 44 minutes to take it to 76%. Again, my experience says it charges a little bit quicker than that. We'll have to see it at the time, but the pack's going to be hot. So I have my doubts about that, but we'll see what it is. We'll head to Elko, and then we'll get to Wendover. And Wendover is, again, this came online. This has really opened up. For us, up until now, there was a 50 kilowatt green lots, which had a spotty reputation. But we now have a proper charger. It's at Smith's Fuels, gas station, food market, bathroom. So everything you need, 24-hour rest stop. And that means we then have to we can get across to Salt Lake. Now this is where going across the salt flats, it's going to be, as it starts to cool down in summer, it gets windy at night. I have found this driving the RV, and I have zero expectation that it'll be any different with with this. And in fact, I have a bigger cross section than the Model 3, but there is very little. Let me just turn off the let's just go with CCS. So interesting, PlugShare doesn't show the one that we're charging, but what we got? Oh, let me turn it back, turn everything on. Interesting, it's not showing it for some reason. Anyway, CCS. Oh, it's because we've got logic switched on still. So we've got our Smith Food and Drug, which is where we're going to charge up. And then, there is a J1772 connection here on the salt flats. If you really get stuck, then there is a charger there, which you hope you don't have to use. Coming into Salt Lake City, we do now have CCS chargers, just 50 kilowatt. But if you really need a charge, then they're there. But we're basically going to head on down to Draper, towards Draper and towards Provo. If I put my timing in, so it'll give me that's if this is using some local conditions. So if I'm leaving on the 15th at 5 a.m., let me just rerun it. Now, I found these numbers with the Tesla run I did to be actually pretty accurate. So this has me getting in at 9 o'clock local time with 15 total hours, 3 hours of charging. One thing with driving the EV is you cannot catch yourself up. If you drive faster to get there sooner, you'll have to charge more and charge longer. So it really is like, it's that mixture of art and science. So that's going to be our day one trip. So we're going to let me just save this. Save as a new plan. Day one. Oops. Day one. And then let's plan our second day. So just do this. And we are going all the way to Lexington, Nebraska, to a Holiday Inn. Now again, when you look at Nebraska, Wyoming's got very little infrastructure that's not Tesla rated. There's Rock Springs where we stayed last time. There isn't a huge amount going on. We see these are some things being put in, but there's not a huge amount. And so the furthest I can get reasonably and be able to charge, I'd like to get to Grand Island, but I think I'm going to struggle to do that. So my plan is to stop here at the Holiday Inn, which happens to be next to the Electrify America at Walmart. So again, that works for us the same way as it does in Salt Lake. So let's hit go, and let me just modify this. So just go back. So we're going to leave on June. So we're going to leave on Tuesday morning. Now, it doesn't understand that I'm here, but the time zone there is different. So you have to do it on a local time. So my plan is to leave at 7 o'clock there, which is 6 o'clock here. This won't matter on the day of, because using PlugShare Trip Planner will have loaded these into the phone and into the car already. So yeah, very straightforward. we're going to leave the hotel. There's a 3-minute diversion to a place called Lehigh, to the Lehigh Bakery. Let's see if that, there we go, Lehigh Square Donuts. This place, if you've ever worked in intelligence and you spent any time in Salt Lake City, then you will be very familiar with the Lehigh Square Donuts. They are, they're like little fluffy clouds. And I'm going to drop some of these off with the family in Nebraska on this particular day. I will limit myself to one of these things, not because I'm trying to lose weight, but because I have that much sugar. I will be no use for driving. This will be a high protein, low carb trip to maximize our driving times. So it has us heading south onto 70. Kicking in at Green River, which is featured in many a road trip online that you can view. Heading through Denver. This will be, I'm going to guess Frisco, yeah, through Frisco. Fort Mason. And again, notice it's not charging deep into the pack here. You know, 59, 60, 73 at Fort Morgan. Again, there is a volunteers, believe it or not, volunteer CCS charger just outside Julesburg. Happens to be near some land that my father-in-law owns. And he'll ask me to stop and see how his field looks. It's happened before. But you know, this again, it's 15 and a half hours. That's a big day. We're gonna leave at, no, this will be out somewhat, but it says leave at 7, get in at midnight. Basically, with any delay, it's midnight. So again, we're going to very quickly just hit the fast charger next door. The Electrify America 100, you know, whack it 125, plug in, and then we'll wake up. So this is how I plan things, and I have other videos which I'll link to that show you how then to take that information, put it into PlugShare trips, and put that into the car, and I'll link to those. And one of the next videos I'll put up will be part 2, where we talk about getting to New York and how that's going to work. So if you have been, thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Put questions in the comments. I'm trying to take what I know, what I've learned over these past few years, and give it to as many people as possible to demystify, simplify, and make it more interesting to be part of this electrical vehicle adventure, which is both better for us, better for the planet, better for the kiddos. You have yourself a great day. Bye.